Don't copyright strike me, Luke Beasley, if that is your real name, which it probably is.
Yeah, I mean, you're having sex and you can't reproduce. Like, the best part about having sex is reproduction. Seriously. Like, I don't value sex because of an orgasm. I value sex because I know that I am going to reproduce and have another baby.
Maybe the orgasm aren't good enough. Kidding. Sorry.
Yeah?
Pain. I mean, like, seriously, though, like, the best part of...
This is more gay than being gay. Just wait for the best part.
It's why, as soon as we got together, like, she's off birth control. As soon as...
We got married, yeah.
As soon as we're together, it's like, no birth control, nothing, because I'm not going to have gay sex. And, like, gay sex is more than just, like, another man and a man. It's just, like, the idea of looking at sex as such a materialistic thing. And
this is the most self-hazing, closeted gay man argument I have ever heard in my life, and I'm actually not... That's not, like, clickbait exaggeration. I think that might actually be, like, if I were designing a statement to be the thing that a closeted gay man would say about heterosexual sex, it would be that, you know, more gay than Fuentes. This guy's actually very Fuentes coded, I would say, in his mannerisms. Also, that hat looks ridiculous on him, but I guess this is just like a style. It's like a streetwear style, right? Maybe I'm racist for even saying that. Maybe I'm like, your hat doesn't fit the classical proportions. Bust out the calipers, do the math. And then he would be like, I thought the left was anti-racist, but I'm actually repping it in the style of a race of people that I hate. So you're the real racist.
At sex is such a materialistic thing, and just like, oh, well, like...
What level of brain rot do you need to reach this opinion? I'm not kidding, but I genuinely don't think... I think that conservatism in law... Okay, I'm going to bring it back to a classic literary reference that most of you aren't educated enough to even understand or pick up on. Have you heard of a book called 1984? There's a part of that book that people often make fun of, because it is admittedly funny, because it's kind of like a one-off thing. But in the end of the book, where I'm going to spoil you a little bit, O'Brien is torturing Winston, and yep, Winston from Overwatch. Hi there. He's got the monkey in the you know, the chains, and he's torturing Winston Overwatch, and O'Brien talks about how the party, like the party, you know, is going to abolish the orgasm. And he says it kind of offhandedly, like flippantly, but one of the biggest joys that Winston took in opposing the party was enjoying sex. That in a life that was otherwise miserable, cruel, and unfulfilling, he took... he deeply enjoyed having sex with, like, a pretty lady, you know? Which, that's true, that is nice, you know? I really do think that fascists seek to rob the pleasure of sex from people, because it is a reprieve from the eternal mania that fascism demands of its adherents. The mania has to be directed outward, and it's usually fueled in part by sexual frustration. So if you're sexually satisfied, that's a power they can no longer wield over you. Like, the inhibition fuels, like, there's a reason why it's a stereotype that some of the loudest homophobes have closeted gay thoughts themselves that they, like, repress, you know? And it's because oftentimes the frustration that stems from those feelings is like an emotional wellspring that needs to be directed outward, you know? You can't just sit on that. You have to overcompensate for it. I genuinely think we've seen more and more of this. Look at Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate was like the premier, like, male advice role model guy for like 2 years before now he just posts the N-word on Twitter. And he flat out admitted he doesn't have sex for pleasure, but he doesn't have it to reproduce either. He's not raising children. He said he has sex with women to demonstrate his power over other men to men. By, like, the like trophy of having sex with a hot lady. It's like something he can hold. It's like a dominance thing. Yeah. Which is, like, for one, really gay. Which, like, there's nothing wrong with that, I guess, innately, but I don't think it's what you're going for. And for two, it sounds like you don't enjoy sex. Can you imagine enjoying sex with that mindset? Because I really don't think you can. You can enjoy, like, dominating women in a sexual context, you know, who amongst us, right? That's normal. That happened, like, lots and lots of people do that. But that still requires a sincere and earnest, like, involvement in the act, which they can't do because it would require like letting the woman be a participant, you know? Like dominating a woman in a sexual context and raping a woman are two extremely different things, but all of their rhetoric is keyed in towards the latter, because in order to sexually dominate a woman, she has to be like in on it, you know? But they can't let her in on it, because if they let her in on it, then they wouldn't have as much power over her. This is so weird, man. I know that. I'm just trying to give a name to it. Likewise with Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson, another premier male role model advice, so on and so forth. But he's really weird about sex. His entire career, he's been weird about it. Very rarely does he talk about or engage with it in like an earnest way. He doesn't talk about it in the same like rapey way that Andrew Tate has, like historically. But for him, it's been more about like, I don't know, like biological essentialism. You know what I mean? Like evolutionary psychology. Like sex isn't about feeling. It's about like the fruit of millions of years of evolution taking place in the minds of the participants. So it's not really about like love or interest or anything. It's like just biology playing out. You know what I mean? That also doesn't sound very fun to me. I don't know, man. I really think that these motherfuckers are being taught to not enjoy sex. Like it's a deliberate lesson. I don't know if this guy knows what the fuck he's talking about, but like I do think it is a part of the program. You can't enjoy having sex with women if you hate and fear women. I'm sorry, you can't, because you're too caught up in anxiety and like your own head. Oh, we'll talk about this now. Oh my God, do I have a segue for this? Maybe in like a separate segment, but oh my God, I do.
Just have an orgasm and that's fun or whatever. No, like, dude, sex is about having children. It's about having babies. Like you pump yourself full of birth control and then you have sex with your wife and like there's no purpose there except just pleasure. That's the only purpose.
Should people who are born like infertile have sex?
It depends. Listen, I am pro like people committing to celibacy for the rest of the.
Can you see what I mean about like debate being over? Can you imagine debating this guy? I feel like the most you could do with conservatives now is just bring the absolute like worst schizos on and just ask them like not even contest their views, because if you do, they'll sputter out or something. You have to ask them like one or two questions. Yeah, it would be like debating an animal, genuinely like debating an animal, you know?
Their life. I am pro like that, and if that was something that they couldn't have babies, I believe that they should have that choice there.
Well, they have the choice.
Yeah,
but I'm saying, is that what you believe is correct? Infertile people, no sex for you.
I think that it's crazy. Infertile people don't think. I don't see anybody really saying that, hey, I'm infertile, so I'm going to be celibate for the rest of my life. I'm not going to touch sex. I'm not going to have sex.
You think crazy people don't say that?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that would be very honorable.
No gay sex with women, guys.
Very true. I agree.
I mean, these two are probably like grifters to some extent as well, so I doubt they sincerely believe what they're talking about. It's mostly just for attention. But, you know, I do think there's an underlying like material factor to this. I want to do like a different segment on this because I feel like it's kind of a slightly separate subject and I don't want to segue too much. But I was introduced to via a tweet, where I get all my news, thank you, to a subreddit called Retroactive Jealousy, which is basically like guys with deep mental illness and insecurity issues freaking out at the feeling of like their girlfriend other guys before them or something. And it's just like, I feel like the political project of conservatism, it feels like so much of it is a process of making men feel horrible about getting their rocks off. Like porn, always immoral. Homosexuality, which a lot of you have an inclination towards, always immoral. Women to be feared and distrusted. You should live your entire life worried about like holding frame in front of them and maintaining power over them. You can never enjoy a sincere moment with them because they're not equal to you. So if it ever feels like you're equal in any respect, like you have to reject that and get angry with them. You have to be insecure about their past. Like, I don't know, man. It's just crazy to me that like from like men are so mentally ill, man. and I'm speaking like in part of myself here as well, like just to be fair, but like it is so common for a guy to freak out if a girl, under any circumstances, like a girlfriend, suggests they're not the biggest guy they've been with, but there is literally no social qualm about a guy remarking in any context, like there was a girl that I'd been with who had bigger tits or bigger ass or whatever. If the girl freaked out over that, people would tell her to calm down. Like if you were at a party or something like that, and everyone was tipsy, and another person, a third party, was like, hey, who's the like biggest tits you've ever felt or something, and you were like, oh well, back in 12th grade there was this girl called like Susie, and she was like double G's or something crazy like that, and went out for like 2 dates or something, and I felt her up, but that was a yeah, you know, like in like a rowdy college party setting or something like that. If your girlfriend freaked out about that and got legitimately upset or like suicidal over it, I feel like most people would be like, dude, calm down. Like, it's just bigger tits. It wasn't a statement on whether he liked her more or thinks about her more. It was just like a offhanded question. But I feel like if a guy, if the reverse happened with like a dick size thing, I feel like for a lot of guys, this would set off like literal suicidal ideation. They would be like having their own guts from Berserk arc. They'd have that damn song playing as they stare out over the cliffside. They'd look like Lord Byron, like overlooking the tempestuous waves, because it represents the turmoil in their mind. Whoa, yeah, that one, you know. Thanos always on it, you know. Guys are trained to be insane about it. They really are. Vosh, this Susie from 12th grade story sounds oddly specific. I would never fondle somebody named Susie. That's too much of a like, that's not a real name. That's not real. I'm not having that entered into my life record, okay? Susie? Yeah, D&D ass name. Gun to my head. Name a woman's name, ass name. Susie. You know, like, okay. You're like Susan, maybe. Socialization of men is legitimately so horrible right now. Next generation's completely cooked. Yeah, it's pretty. We're going to talk about Joe Rogan later, but like, no, it's like everything. I can't even, like, you can bring it back to Andrew Tate or Joe Rogan or whatever, but it goes so far beyond that. There's like a larger socialization thing going on, you know? I don't know. It's pretty crazy. I mean, it's always been the case. Not necessarily, no. Like, I'm not saying everything was great 50 or 60 or 70 years ago, but I think that what we're seeing now is like a shift from the dominant paradigm being paternalistic, chauvinistic sexism to the dominant paradigm being hatred of women. If you like were trying to make a measure of what sexism looked like back in like 1949 or something, don't get me wrong, they were sexist as but they weren't incels. That was the difference, right? Like, there was a lot of sexism, but like the sexism wasn't taking the form of these like bitter, hateful, insecure, unfuckable guys who legitimately hate women. There were people like that. I'm not saying there weren't, but it was mostly about like controlling the lives of women in the stereotypical, like, you know, chauvinistic, you know, like chivalry way, you know? That's just because they were in power? Yeah, but like, men still are. They just legitimately thought women were like dogs back then. I don't want to overstate the case, okay? Like, sexism was really bad back in the 40s and 50s. I'm just saying that it didn't take the form that it is today, where the dominant voices in like sex, like men's sexist socialization were malicious towards women in that way. You know, it was more about like, fellas, you gotta keep your wife in line if she gives you lip. But that I do think that's meaningfully different in how you respond to it. Because if the sexism is like, if your wife is giving you trouble, then you gotta show her what for. Like, that's a little different in that it can be responded to with the second wave feminist movement, right? You can respond to that with a like, burning your bra, hell no, not anymore. But what do you respond to this with? Where a lot of young guys just like, despise women. Like, legitimately, what's the counter argument? Don't despise us? How does that even work? There are a lot of people out there who will say that. They'll be like, well, the way through this gender gap paradigm, the way through this dynamic is women need to just more men. And it's like, first of all, that's probably not a good solution. And second of all, that wouldn't even help. Like, the unfuckable guy in your, you know, college computer science class, that wouldn't fix him. I've had sex. It's nice. It won't instantly change your ideology. It doesn't work that way. Men need to be okay with women not being virgins. Look, I'm not the best person to talk about this because I and the people that I've been with historically have been pretty frivolous sexually. So like, obviously I have less of a hang up about it, I guess. I think it's totally okay if a person is monogamous, or even if a person's kind of uncomfortable with their partner having had a bunch of sex before them. I get it. It's like a FOMO thing at the very least, okay? But like, there's a difference between feeling weird about it and guys being legitimately like suicidal at the thought of another guy having touched their girl. That's crazy. Like, if a girl did that to you, you would do like yandere sim jokes. Like, it's literally a joke in the anime community. The yandere thing, the anime girls who are like, I will kill every woman who's ever touched you. That's like a joke. Like, we know it's psycho. So there's an entire social archetype, media archetype, built around making fun of / playing off of it. Like, it's a known factor, you know? We all get that's crazy. But then if a guy's like, I want to kill myself because my girlfriend 4 years ago had sex with a guy whose penis I heard over like the over the grapevine has a 0.18 inch more length than mine. What? I saw this. It's insane. Yeah, we'll talk about that next. The sexists of decades ago would regard the incels of today as unbelievably weak. That's true. Don't get me wrong, man. I sympathize with people who've got like insecurity issues. It's just like, holy shit, you know? You gotta dial it back. Like past a point, you have to do some work on yourself, you know? Why not? Not getting laid makes men go actually crazy. Dude, I can tell from YouTube chat, I can tell you're a virgin, okay? Because men go crazy whether or not they're having sex. People go crazy whether or not they're having sex. Having sex, it's not that big of a deal. The thing you like about having sex in your mind, because I know you're not getting any physically, okay, is the idea of the approval you get from a woman because she'll let you, like, touch her and stuff, okay? That's the thing people go crazy for. It's not about the physical, like, oh, the tactility of a pussy is so different from a hand with lotion on it that it's, like, fundamentally life rearranging. You're talking about approval. But that approval that you want isn't, like, a one and done. Like, you just get sex and then it's like, oh, I've validated myself, I've been affirmed, I'm now mentally stable. That's never how it's worked for anyone. Yeah, it's about feeling wanted, and in order to feel wanted, like, that's not really like a one and done. That's not like climbing Mount Everest where you mount the summit and then you're like, I did that, I now know forever that I'm a person who did that. It's like a part of your whole life, and there will be times in your life, no matter what, where your feeling wantedness, that level, will dip, and there will be times where you'll feel more wanted. This is just part of life for everyone, for all time, in all of human history. And you can't become a fascist every time it dips like this. I'm sorry, that's not workable. Why? Women will have their own cycles, and then, well, in both senses, I guess. And then when their cycle dips, they just feel bad or whatever. Men will have the cycle. They'll go down here and they'll be like, I am Adolf Hitler, Heil Hitler. And then it's like, you can't do that. That's not cool. Whoa, Navosh, that's a privileged take. It matters to people. Privileged take. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. I did, like, you can't, if you look, I know I need to talk about this because people always get like ambiguously insecure when I do. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I know I'm hitting on something that needs to be talked about, because when I talk about it, people will be like, they'll feel weird about it, but in like, yeah, they get stupid about it, but like in a way that you're speaking from your feelings right now, not from up here. So you feel weird about it. Okay, that's fine. So I'll talk about it. Vosh, it's about social status. Incels want to be one of the guys. To do that, you got to be laid at least once. No, you don't. No, you don't. First of all, getting laid once and then never again because it was a fluke will not make you feel good. Second of all, you don't have to have had sex to be one of the guys. Like, what? You mean like you're with a group of guys and they're all talking about like, hey, bro, you know, listen, I know we've broached this topic like 17 times this week, but you know what I want to talk about, bro? How tight and wet pussy is. Oh, yeah, bro. What? You're not with the guys because the guys that we're talking about in this example are fictitious. You're watching a politics live streamer on YouTube right now. You are not going out and interacting with the kind of people who talk like that. You're not interacting with these 85 IQ like sports bros who have nothing to talk about except their high school like football career that went long because they got a knee injury, and their high school sweetheart who they married and now resents them. Like, you are constructing every element of this. Okay, that did happen to me once. So it happened once? You had a bad conversation once? I have it every day for my job. Oh, you had to deal with a bunch of mouth-breathing imbeciles bringing up conversational topics you're not interested in? Welcome. Take a seat. Look, I sympathize. I reject the delusion that this issue, like if you're a guy and you're insecure and lonely or whatever, that this is going to be fixed by like, if I get pussy one time, then everything will fall into place. I'll feel secure. My mental health will stabilize. I'll feel wanted. The guys will like me. It's total bullshit. Total bullshit. Dude, I cannot tell you how like many life examples in every direction I could summon to counter this point, like in every possible way. I've known socially successful people who just didn't get laid that much because they didn't really care about it that much. I've known people who got laid a lot who were generally unlikable. Like there's so much like that, you know? It's just not like that. That's unironically how a lot of convos go in guy circles. Okay, if you're with guy friends and you are a virgin and it bothers you a bit that you're a virgin, which is fine, that's fine, whatever. You can just, first of all, are you literally a high schooler? Because just to make it clear, okay, I've had guy friends who talked all the time about pussy. They were virgins. Because once you have sex, you stop talking about it. Because the only people who obsess over it are people who haven't had sex. Once you're an adult and you're paying taxes and you have a job and you have a girlfriend or a wife who you like all the time, you stop talking about it, because why would you? It's you. The only reason you would talk about this is if you're obsessing over the fantasy of something you either haven't had or have basically no experience on. You just move on. So I assume you're talking about like high school buddies. If they're talking about pussy or whatever and that bothers you, you can ask them to stop. What, does that feel awkward? Then they're not your friends. Then you're imagining this. Then this isn't real. Then we're having this conversation in like a holodeck. I don't get it at all. Vosh doesn't hang out with a lot of right-wing bros, apparently. Why would I do that? I'm 30 and independently successful at a job that I work at from home. Why would... If you do, I'm sorry. You don't have to interact with them if you don't want to. Oh, are they your coworkers? If you have coworkers who keep talking about pussy in your job place, take that up with HR. That's not my problem. That's like, but even then, do you want their approval? Like, guy who wants to have sex mostly so that when his mid-20s MAGA coworkers talk about pussy, he can go, yeah, it's pretty warm. You can just say that now. I'll give that one to you for free, okay? Even if you're a virgin, you can go up to the right-wing male social group or whatever, and you can be like, yeah, bro, it's like it's pretty warm and wet. And they'll be like, yeah, and then you're fine. It's goopy, and then you'll be in. If they're right wing, you've got like a lot of ins actually. You can be like, yeah, I love how it's goopy. Hate it when she asked me to go down on her, and they'll be like, yeah, bro, yeah, you tell her, yeah. And then you'll be like, but I love it when she goes down on me, yeah. Like you have to know how to push their buttons, okay? To be fair, as a straight guy, you get teased fairly often for not wanting / having sex. I don't know how else to say this. If you have people in your life who are unironically making fun of you for not having had sex, cut them out of your life. Again, I know you're probably in high school and it's a little more difficult at that age because you don't have like the self-actualization skills to put your feet down. When you're an adult, you have this wonderful power of self-association where you can choose who you want to talk to. But like you can, even back before I was a live streamer, when I was in university or when I worked my wagey cagey jobs, when I was trying to raise money to pay for college or whatever, like there were people that I didn't want to interact with because I thought they were tedious. So I didn't. And then it was fine. Like, I'm not, you can't go and correct that, I guess. I mean, not reliably, at least. You have to exercise a bit of agency there. Well, it feels like the implication of these statements lined up as they are is that it's necessary, socially speaking, for young men to have had sex at some point so they can appease people they don't like in conversations they don't like having. Why not just not talk to them?